So just a very quick review of adjective agreement based off of some of the errors that I was seeing in the writings that everybody did when they were describing people and families. So adjective agreement, you know that adjectives need to change to match whatever they are describing. In this case, it's mostly people. And that there's two areas we have to worry about: gender and number. Gender refers to masculine and feminine, and then of course number refers to singular and plural. So whenever you're writing these sentences, you're putting the subject, you're matching up the verb, and then you're putting that base adjective that you got from your vocab list. Okay, when you get that, it starts off as masculine singular. That's the base form. Okay, and you go from there where you have to change it up depending on gender and number. Okay, so we talked about masculine and feminine. So if you're talking about one guy, your dad, your brother, your uncle, okay, you don't have to make any change to the adjective. If it was bajo and I was talking about my dad, it would stay bajo because dad's a singular masculine person and I've got a singular masculine adjective matching him. However, if the person being described is feminine, is a female, you do have to make some changes. If your base word ends in an O, you're going to change that O to an A because you're talking about a gal. If your base word doesn't end in O, you don't have to do anything. Okay, we're never adding A's, but we're changing O's to A's. So for example, the adjective bajo, when I'm talking about my mother, is going to change to baja. The adjective fuerte, however, that ends in E, I'm not going to change it for my mom because there's no O to change to an A. That would just be fuerte. So mi madre es fuerte, mi padre es fuerte. But mi madre es baja and mi padre es bajo. Okay, so changing O's to A's. That takes care of the masculine feminine piece. The other piece, which is something that some of us were kind of forgetting as we were moving through our sentences, is the singular and plural piece. So you need to make sure if you are describing more than one person, and that includes we statements. If I'm talking about myself and my brother, it's more than one person. You need to make the adjective plural as well. Okay, so singular, if it's singular, we don't have to do anything. But if it's plural, you need to add either an S or an ES to the adjective to make it match in number with the number of people you're talking about. So again, a review: if the adjective ends in a vowel, you're going to add an S. If it ends in a consonant, you're going to add ES. Okay, so let's just take a quick look at an example using three adjectives: gordo, fuerte, and joven. Okay, they all are written a little bit differently. So first I'm talking about my grandpa, abuelo. Don't have to make any changes. Gordo, fuerte, joven. Straight from my vocab list, no problem. Then I'm talking about my grandmother, who happens to be a woman, of course. So my gordo is going to change to gorda because I'm talking now about one female. Fuerte and joven don't change because there's no O's there to change, so we don't have to worry about them. If I'm talking about mis primos, cousins, more than one, all right, and they're guys because it's primos, all right, I had my base word gordo, but I have to add an S onto it because now I'm talking about more than one cousin. So that has to be gordos, fuertes, and jóvenes. So fuerte, because it ends in a vowel, you just add an S. Joven, because it ends in a consonant, you're adding ES. That would go for débil as well, or any of our other adjectives that end in a consonant. And then finally, primas, which is girl cousins, we would use gordas, fuertes, jóvenes. Okay? Notice that they only changed O to A here. We don't have to make any changes here in the plural forms. Okay, this was the area adding the S's and ES's that quite a few of us struggled with. Okay, so gender, number, changing O's to A's where you need to, and for number, adding S's and ES's, depending on who you're talking to or about. Finally, you can go to Quizlet and practice with the agreement set. Once you've practiced with it and you feel like you kind of have the concept down, you can go back to the writings that you did on Schoology and make some corrections. If you're still feeling a little fuzzy, you can certainly, you still have access to the original PowerPoint that we took notes from that really gives a super detailed description of how it all works. So practice up and you can make your corrections.